All right, so Joran Van Sloot, along with agents from the FBI, have officially touched down in Alabama following his extradition from Peru. Greta Van Susteren, host of The Record, which I'm in for her right now, joins me from outside the courthouse in Birmingham where Joran Van Sloot will be arraigned. Greta, you have been, let's just say, instrumental not only in coverage, but also in keeping this case alive.
Well, Carl, actually, I started it 18 years ago, and it was a promise I made to Beth Holloway when I met her in a hotel room in the Holiday Inn in Baruba. And I thought at the time, I promised her I'd stick with it to the end. And quite honestly, and Beth and I do have a little gallows humor on it, I thought it'd be a couple days. I thought we'd either find the young girl, she was a teenager just graduating high school, the bad news is I thought we might also find her dead. Well, 18 years later, I'm still working on the case with Beth, and this is a huge, huge development. And my hat goes off to the nation of Peru. Peru has been unbelievably fantastic, and our FBI field agents, I can't say enough good things about them. I mean, this is truly, this is the best of the best of our law enforcement and with our relationship with other countries like Peru, which incidentally has been an ally of ours for almost 200 years. But this is a big night for the Holloway family. Finally, some justice. Nobody ever thought it would come. And actually, tomorrow at 11 a.m., Joran Van Sloot, behind me in this courthouse, will be told about the two charges against him. He could face 40 years in prison for these two counts. He got 28 years in prison for the brutal beating of Stephanie Flores on May 30th, 2010. So this is another step in the justice for Joran Van Sloot and some of the things that he has left in his path.
Greta, it's an honor to sit in your chair tonight and toss this to you because you, like you said, you were day one on this case. The amount of work you put in with the FBI, with Interpol and things like that, you moved mountains to get this underway. But as I look back at this stopped people almost globally from taking spring break vacations 18 years ago.
Well, I don't blame them. Look, I tell everybody, before you go to Aruba, just do me one favor. Go to the State Department's webpage on human trafficking and check Aruba, and then you make your decision. Look, Aruba's got beautiful beaches, but I would check that State Department page before I did anything else.
Mm-hmm. Well, in 2010, a grand jury in Alabama indicted Van Sloot on these wire fraud charges, extortion charges. Talk about what happens next. Obviously, he's been moved to America, so the American charges will be pending, but what else is he facing?
Well, he's already been appointed a lawyer, federal defender here, who will meet with him either tonight or at the jail, which he's being held now, or tomorrow morning before he goes to court. 11 a.m. is an arraignment. It's a very short procedure. Usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes. An accused is told of the charges against him, first making sure that the accused understands them. Of course, one of the issues is whether or not Joran Van Sloot speaks English or not and understands the court proceedings. I assure you, I spent an entire weekend interviewing Joran Van Sloot in 2008 in Thailand. His English is as good as mine, but I do know that they have standing by interpreters just in case he says that he doesn't understand. He's a very smart guy. He speaks about 5 languages. He speaks Dutch, Spanish, English, Papiamento, which is the local language in Aruba. But he will be told the charges against him, and he'll be asked to enter a plea, guilty or not guilty. I expect that he's going to be not guilty. I mean, that's fundamental. He will then be told that he has a right to a speedy trial, and a speedy trial under the federal under the federal rules is about 70 days, and he might waive that, in which case his trial would be beyond 70 days. His lawyer, the decision's his, whether they have a speedy trial or not, but his lawyer, and I'm a former criminal defense lawyer, is hearing about this case essentially for the first time. He hasn't seen the evidence yet. The defense lawyer will get to see the evidence tomorrow, the discovery, after the arraignment, and the defense attorney is no doubt going to want to spend time with his client. He's never met him before. I've spent more time with Joran Van Sloot than the defense lawyer. Defense lawyer spent none. In fact, this is the irony of it, Carl, is that tomorrow in the courtroom, Joran Van Sloot knows only one person. He knows me, which is the irony of it, because I've spent so much time tracking him over the years, because I've followed him all over the world. I've interviewed him many times. So that's the proceeding tomorrow. He'll then be held in custody pending the trial, and then we'll go into the whole process about filing motions, and he'll get his trial date. He could plead guilty at some point. That's his choice.
Right. Well, Greta, obviously being a lawyer yourself and having a significant background in this, what kind of, what does this prosecution lay out? What does it look like? Do you know any of the evidence they're going to put forward? I'm sure you probably know more than prosecutors at this point.
Carl, I know all the evidence in this. all of it. And I've also been a criminal defense attorney. If I were Joran van der Sloot, I would try to work out a deal, but I don't think there's any deal to be had for him because the evidence, I'll let the jury hear the evidence and make a decision. I'm just telling you, if I were the criminal defense lawyer here, I would be talking to him about, the level of evidence against him. Look, there's something that we call, when the evidence is overwhelming and your client, and there's no plea offer on the table, you go through the trial anyway, and we defense lawyers call it a slow plea because a plea usually takes a few minutes. Well, a trial when the evidence is overwhelming is what we call a slow plea. But anything can happen at trial. Who knows? I mean, witnesses, can drop dead and then the trial falls apart. So, nobody knows. But I'm just saying is that I do know the evidence. And I do know the state of the evidence. It's 13 years ago that this happened, and oftentimes evidence gets bad. It goes bad. People forget things, or evidence gets lost. Yeah. My understanding of this case is ready to go from the prosecution standby, and I wouldn't want to be his defense attorney.
Well, Greta, and I got to ask, which a lot of Americans probably consider too, is what took so long to get here? Was it just getting him out of Peru? For a lot of things. One is the inertia of the United States, because this is not a high-profile case typically. This is not a DEA agent, an FBI agent who was shot down by a cartel member. And that's why I do, tip my hat so much to the FBI, because they fought so hard to make sure that the United States and the government recognizes the importance of this case. Because it's a message to everybody across America that when you go overseas, we're going to do what we can to get you justice or to bring you back. So it's an important case for that. One of the other problems is that, the Peruvian government, who has been unbelievably spectacular in the last 60 days. But prior to that, they've had a lot of political turmoil. They've had 6 presidents in 5 years, and they've had a lot of political turmoil, so this is not high priority in terms of working on. The other thing, too, is that this is not a routine extradition. This is pursuant to a treaty that the United States entered into in 2001 with Peru, in which they're borrowing a prisoner. They're not getting him really extradited. We use that term, but extradited. And Beth Holloway, the mother of Natalee Holloway, was the one who dug up that treaty, and so she gets all the credit for that. Not all the lawyers, not me, not anybody else, and she gets the credit for that. But under the treaty, Peru lends us Joran, we try him, and then we send him back to finish his sentence for killing Stephanie Flores. Now, the problem is that if this were a routine extradition, if Peru extradited him to us, then they couldn't make him serve the rest of his sentence. And Peru wants justice for Stephanie Flores. So this is sort of unique, is that what will happen is that we've been loaned Joran van der Sloot. He'll be tried here. If convicted and sentenced, he goes back to Peru, finishes his sentence for beating to death this poor 21-year-old in a hotel room. Then he will return to do his time here in a U.S. prison. Well, either way, Greta, being van der Sloot is not a good day for him. I appreciate your extensive coverage on this and all your knowledge. I'll do my best to keep your...
Can I just say one thing, Carl? Let me just say, look, Joran van der Sloot showed Natalee Holloway Aruba. Well, tonight, the Holloway family gets to show him Natalee's home, Birmingham, Alabama.
Well, you know what? I hope this mother at least feels a little bit of justice out of this and a little bit of comfort. But I appreciate you following this so hard. I'll keep your seat warm till you're back.
Thank you.
All right. Now to our other